it gives me a lot of pride to know that they're here. And then I look at the rest of the places and say, gosh, I wish I could come to your place. Because if you're as good as these guys, my gosh, I want to be everywhere. Anyway, it's a pleasure to have all of you here tonight, and we have 25 nominees in 4 different categories, and it's going to be my pleasure to help hand out the awards. And until then, I'm going to introduce Jimmy Bryant, who is the Director of Heritage, and he will go into the depth of the Hall of Fame. Jimmy?
Thank you, Mike. I don't think Mike told you, but he's a Cabinet Secretary of the Arkansas Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. He's my boss. He doesn't like to be called secretary. He gets mad at me when I do that. So he just said, call me Mike. So if I say Mike, it's not out of disrespect. He said, I don't want to get fired. You know, I have often said that food brings us together and is an important part of our culture and heritage. And we tend to use food when we have important events. When we celebrate a wedding, or some type of get-together with relatives or friends, what do? We eat. And when we have a baby shower for a co-worker, what do? We eat. When we go to a football game or basketball game, what do? Yeah, we just eat all the time. It's like we're going to eat, but we're going to find occasions to eat more often. And also, and this is really important for restaurants, if someone is courting someone, what do? Someone you really like, you take them to an expensive restaurant time and time and time again to get the point across. In the 70s, my girlfriend and I went to every big name restaurant in Dorado, all of them. And it worked because she married me. And we've been married 42 years today. Today's our anniversary. I told her I was going to keep it quiet, but I guess I lied. Now, certain types of foods are identifiers of where we are from. Foods are almost as good an indicator of where we are from or what geographic area we're associated with. Rivers are international. For instance, if I say the Nile River, what country comes to mind? Egypt. And if I say the Rhine River, well, what continent comes to mind? Europe. Of course, the Rhine River goes through 6 different countries and is a boundary between several European countries. And if I say the mighty Mississippi, we're talking about the USA, aren't we? Now, there's a food that's called the caviar of the South. What is that? I want to ask Rex Nelson. He knows everything about everything. Rex, the caviar of the South.
We have freshwater caviar in Arkansas.
I know something Rex Nelson doesn't know. A little bit more respect here. The caviar of the South is actually boiled peanuts. That's what I expected to hear. I had never heard of boiled peanuts until a co-worker of mine brought some to work and had me try it. I later found out that they're extremely popular in North Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. And they're sold at sporting events in those states, like we sell popcorn here in Arkansas. They're sold by vendors at all festivals. I mean, boiled peanuts is huge in South Carolina and Georgia especially. Now, even though our southern brethren love boiled peanuts, they don't have that big of a following here in Arkansas. Now, do our Arkansas farmers get together and talk about their peanut crop, or do they get together and talk about soybeans, rice, corn, and cotton? Do we have the Hope Boiled Peanut Festival or the Cave City Boiled Peanut Festival? Absolutely not. We have the Hope Watermelon Festival. We have the Cave City Watermelon Festival. Nor do we have the Bradley County Boiled Peanut Festival. We have the Bradley County Pink Tomato Festival, because that's what people like here in this area. You get the point. But even in the South, we have foods that are preferential to different states. Some foods are easily recognized and eaten regularly in Arkansas, and some are not. Let me tell you a story about a friend of mine from Wisconsin. He moved here from Wisconsin, and he loved to fish. And he immediately started fishing when he got here. Well, not immediately, but he soon started. And his first time out, he caught 2 big fish. He said they weighed between 8 and 10 pounds each. And he gave them away after he caught them. I said, well, why did you do that? He says, Jimmy, you will not believe these fish. They're very big and just very ugly. He said, there's nobody in their right mind that would eat these fish. They were just terrible fish. You can't eat them. And I said, okay. I said, do you have any idea what they were? He said, well, I gave them to this fisherman who was really glad to get them, and he called them catfish. Now, all of us, can you imagine giving away a 10-pound catfish? 2 of them? I don't have to remind you how important catfish are, not only to the typical Arkansans' taste buds, but also to the Arkansas economy. Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi account for 94% of all the catfish raised in the United States. The catfish industry is an extremely important economic driver in the state of Arkansas. But if someone from Wisconsin doesn't want a catfish. Now, in regard to our food choices, things either don't change or they change very slowly. I interviewed, in the year 2000, I interviewed my father. And I asked him about the typical breakfast that his mother served in the late 1920s. And let me talk about the interview. I used to be the director of archives at UCA, and so I do a lot of interviews. And I had never interviewed my dad, and I thought, I need to do this before he dies, which I did. And he said a typical breakfast in the late 1920s consisted of fried eggs, either ham or bacon, biscuits and gravy, and coffee for the adults. I wonder if any restaurants serve those things today. Of course they do. See, things don't change very quickly in regard to food at all. It's a slow go when you talk about change. And that's all the comments I have on that topic. Now I have a big responsibility, and that is to introduce someone. One of the 2 remaining people on this stage that haven't spoke. I think you've heard the phrase, our next speaker needs no introduction. Well, that's true in this case as well, but he's going to get one anyway. Rex Nelson is a member of the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame Committee. He's a native of Arkadelphia and is a graduate of Ouachita Baptist University, a university that he dearly loves and has been associated with for most of his life. He is still the play-by-play announcer for the OBU Tigers football team, and he made his career in journalism. At the age of 23, he became the youngest editor of a state daily newspaper, the Siftings Herald. He has worked for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette for a number of years and is currently a columnist for that paper. He has served in state government with the Governor Mike Huckabee administration and was appointed in 2005 by President George W. Bush to the Delta Regional Authority. Rex has also hosted radio talk shows and is a connoisseur of Arkansas cuisine. He writes about his love of Arkansas food. During our meetings with the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame Committee, which is, I serve on that committee as well, someone will mention a restaurant that they have heard good things about, and Rex will routinely say, I've eaten there. Another person will mention another restaurant, and Rex will again say, I've eaten at that restaurant. All his travelings throughout the state have taken him to restaurants, and he loves to try new restaurants. So he is a very reliable source when it comes to evaluating restaurants. He's very talented there. And so we're glad that we had that firsthand information, and the committee needs that type of information. And of course, Rex Nelson is very experienced in checking out restaurants and trying their cuisine. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Rex Nelson.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you. Jimmy, thank you. And Jimmy's going to go take a seat down here. Mike's going to stay with us. I'll introduce David in a minute. But I got to tell you, these three guys, you talk about knowledge of Arkansas and our history and our culture. These are three of our finest, and I just want to thank all three of you for your willingness to serve in state government. We are very, very fortunate to have these three gentlemen here. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to have you. I want to make this really informal, so, cheer when you want to, say that away, holler out, whatever. Don't throw anything because it's dark and I'm in the light and I can't see, so I'll never see it coming. But it's great to have you again at the beautiful Ron Robinson Theater. Can you believe it? This is our 7th annual gathering. Doesn't seem that long, but we have been at this for 7 years. Now, some of you are veterans like me and have been at all of these. As you know, in past years, we have battled tornadoes on the night of this event with the sirens literally going off. We have battled ice on the night of this event. You can get both at this time of year in Arkansas, and it couldn't be a more beautiful day than it is today. So thanks to those of you who are here in person. Thanks to those of you who are watching this event statewide as we recognize our incredible and diverse food heritage of Arkansas and the hands that prepare that food and the hands that serve that food. Once again, we have received nominations from all 75 counties of Arkansas. All 75. That is proof that this is truly a statewide program. It truly represents every corner of the state, urban and rural, from white tablecloths to extremely casual, and covers every imaginable taste combination that there is. It's clear that Arkansas people love their local food. I always say we live through our stomachs in the state of Arkansas. True story. I can spend all day trying to craft some column on public policy. And I work hard on it and maybe I get 3 or 4 comments. Occasionally, in the newspaper business, you're running a little late and I'll run in and I'm running late on a column. I've got an hour. So I knock something out. Where's the best barbecue? Something that I can write really fast. Might get 200 to 300 comments on that one. That was fast. It shows how much we love good food in Arkansas. And as is the case every year, our Hall of Fame committee had a really difficult assignment simply because there's so much good food and there are so many talented people. But we worked through it. We got it done. A number of my colleagues are on that committee. Would everybody on the committee stand up? I know it's a little bit dark, but you can see them. Most of them are up front here. Let's give them a hand for their work. Thanks, guys. This year we had, get this, 1,828 nominations that we had to work through. Since we started this in 2017, we've received more than 8,900 total nominations. We will top 10,000 next year. And again, they've come from every corner of the state. Now, every nominee, finalist, and winner has a packet to collect at the end of the program. For those unable to attend and may be with us via Facebook Live, we will mail you those packets. They contain materials we hope you'll show off in your establishment in recognition of your status as one of Arkansas's favorite places to eat. I love going in a place and seeing that Arkansas Hall of Fame sticker on the door. I tip more when you put that sticker on the door, by the way, just so you know. So if you get your sticker, make sure that you lose it. Now, let's hear it for all of our nominees. Thank you, guys. You're important to your communities. You're important to Arkansas more than you realize. People come together when they eat together, and you bring us together every day of the year in Arkansas. So here we go. Let's hand out some plates, why don't we? We asked for nominations in a number of categories, the first of which is called People's Choice. Now, more than half of the nominations we received were in this category. 966 total nominations were made. Strong voices, passionate opinions about who should be selected, but only one can be the People's Choice by receiving the most overall nominations. To be eligible, the business had to be at least a year old, not part of a chain. In that regard, this year's winner is more than qualified because our 2023 People's Choice winner has been around for almost 75 years. Known for its great food, its incredible baked goodies, and its coffee for generations. Its nominators consistently cited not only the food, but its focus on serving surrounding neighborhoods, serving all the families in those neighborhoods, serving children throughout the city. The warm and welcoming environment of our honoree builds a safe place to come and enjoy great flavors with friends old and new. Our People's Choice Award winner for 2023, Community Bakery of Little Rock. Come on up, everybody with Community Bakery, and Secretary Mills will give you your award. Congratulations. And you can still get newspapers there. That's almost a thing of the past. All right, now for what we called our juried awards. Members of our committee narrowed down all the nominees to a list of finalists in each category. Those finalists were then turned over to a blue ribbon panel of judges to make the final selection of a winner. 5 years ago, we didn't start with this 7 years ago, but 5 years ago, we decided we needed to add a category. We called it Gone But Not Forgotten, an award designed to honor the collective legacy of a once and always influential Arkansas restaurant that has since ceased operations. The reason for the closure is not important. It is the influence that the food and those who prepared the food still have on other restaurants that matters. There were 57 nominees in this category. The Food Hall of Fame committee narrowed these choices down to 4 finalists, and from those finalists, a single honoree was selected. Now, in alphabetical order, here are our 4 unforgettable finalists. First up, the Fordyce restaurant of course, Fordyce. Where did you think? The Fordyce opened in 1967, was a popular local eatery offering traditional Southern foods like fried chicken, dressing, roast beef, pork, vegetables. It operated for more than 5 decades. Paul and Kay Holt family closed the doors in 2021. There was a brief attempt to bring it back. Didn't work. If you want to lease it, I know the building's still sitting there. Passed it the other day. It was back in 1975, some of you may know, that the restaurant and the town it's named for made national news. Keith Richards and Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones were traveling, perhaps traveling stoned, along Highway 167 for a show date in Memphis to their next show in Dallas. They pulled their rented yellow Impala. Boy, you think they could have done better than that for a rental car, don't you? May have been all they had at the airport. They ate lunch at the Fordyce, after which they were stopped and detained by the local police. as they were leaving the town of Fordyce. In Keith Richards' autobiography, Life, the Fordyce restaurant is mentioned in the very first sentence, and the entire first chapter is devoted to that day that 2 stones were stopped in the pine woods of South Arkansas as they tried to roll through our beloved state. So despite its closure, the Fordyce remains an integral part of Arkansas's history, the Fordyce restaurant. Also, gone but not forgotten, and this was one of my favorites. Growing up down the road in Arkadelphia, we would go to Hot Springs, and we would eat at the Bohemia, established in 1962. Served authentic German and Czech cuisine in an elegant atmosphere all the way up until 2007. The original owners are Dr. Oldrich Duchak and his wife Gloria. They began the legacy that Chef Adolf Thum and his wife Krista operated from the front of the house to the kitchen. This was a place you just wanted to be. They had taken over ownership in 1975. At its peak, Bohemia introduced Arkansans from all over our state to German and Czech food dishes they never would have eaten otherwise. In addition, as you know, in those days, Hot Springs was a place where Chicago area people liked to visit. They would leave those cold winters of Illinois for the warmth of Hot Springs, and they would find familiar comfort food served up with a chef and a thick German accent. They loved it. The restaurant was known for its award-winning hearty specialties, steamed dumplings, German bratwurst, Hungarian goulash, I'm making myself hungry, and more. An authentic taste of the old country, gone but not forgotten, the Bohemia restaurant of Hot Springs. Now, let's move it back here to Little Rock. Chip's Barbecue. In 1961, Tom and Tina Chipman opened Chip's in a strip mall way out on West Markham Street. That was far, far west Little Rock in those days. Within a few years, the restaurant moved to the other side of the same strip mall, and Chip's kept turning out really good food and unforgettable pies until 2016. Tom Chipman was a World War II veteran, led his family-owned and operated barbecue staple that was famous for its hickory smoked meats and homemade sauces, soups, great chili, you might remember, and some of the finest scratch-made pies the capital city has ever seen. It was known for quality food, friendly service. A unique barbecue sauce was bottled and shipped nationwide to former patrons who really missed it. Following Tom Chipman's death in 2012, the restaurant changed hands a couple of times, but the magic behind the menu had faded. The restaurant closed permanently in 2016. We say goodbye, Mr. Chip, but you're not forgotten. Let's hear it for Chip's Barbecue of Little Rock. Another finalist from just across the river in North Little Rock, Sirloin's Inn. Now, if you were here in Central Arkansas looking for a great steak or some quality seafood in the 70s or up until the 80s, you need not look any further than North Little Rock's Sirloin's Inn. It's where my dad would drive my mom for their anniversary dinner, actually from Arkadelphia every year. My dad loved the place, as did I, as did a lot of Arkansans. If you cross the river now and go over to Frank Fletcher's Riverfront Steakhouse at the Wyndham, he patterned his salad bar on the one at Sirloin's Inn with that shrimp, all-you-can-eat shrimp. Sirloin's was the popular steakhouse in the area on any given weekend night, and particularly on a weekend of a Razorback football game. You could bet the place was packed to the rafters. It opened in 1971. The steakhouse was known for its salad bar, as I said, for its warm bread, for its great cuts of steak. Owner Aaron Ross once said, "All I know is how to make people comfortable and happy serving good food and providing good service." There's not much else to it than that, is there? The last great steak graced the grill at Sirloin's Inn before it closed in 2007. Our final nominee in this category, let's hear it for Sirloin's Inn. Gone, but certainly not forgotten. You ready, Mike? Let's present another one. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally remember them all, and we use our napkins to wipe away the tears. But we recognize there can only be one winner, and it is the Bohemia Restaurant of Hot Springs. Come on up. Congratulations. All right. I think you need to reopen so you'll have some place to hang that plaque. That would be great to see. All right. Next category. We're rolling right along. We try to keep this thing moving. In the category of food-themed event, to be eligible, events must be held annually in Arkansas and must have a history dating back at least 5 years. 38 total nominees this year. There were 3 finalists. And I think I've been to every event that was nominated, judging something, whether it was a watermelon eating or tomato eating or grease pig running or whatever. Now here is the first of our finalists, the Magnolia Blossom Festival and World Championship Steak Cook-Off in Magnolia, of course. Since 1989, the Blossom Festival has been a sight to behold. Steaks cooking all around that beautiful downtown square under the magnolia trees. A scent of heaven as you pull into downtown Magnolia. It's twice been featured nationally on the Food Network. And with $10,000 in prize money on the line, grill masters from across the country come to compete, and they bring their A game with them. Some of these grill rigs are astonishing to see, let me tell you, but the real attraction is what comes out of them, the best steaks ever. Our first finalist, the Magnolia Blossom Festival and World Championship Steak Cook-Off, way down in Columbia County. All right, we're going to stay down in far South Arkansas, L.A., and our second finalist will be the Mayhaw Festival at El Dorado. The annual Mayhaw Festival is a celebration of the mayhaw berry, a juicy, tart berry native to southern Arkansas and other parts of the American South. This festival began back in 1992, held on the first Saturday in May, hosted by the South Arkansas Historical Preservation Society. The Mayhaw Festival features live music, food and craft vendors, children's activities, a car and bike show, and the delicious homemade mayhaw jelly, some of which I have at my home right now. In fact, you want to be sure you are there by 8 a.m. on festival day so you can enjoy a breakfast of biscuits and mayhaw jelly. 2023, by the way, also will mark the third installment of the Mac and Cheese Cook-Off. That sounds fun. So another finalist, let's hear it for the Mayhaw Festival of El Dorado. Now let's head east to the Grand Prairie of Arkansas. Our third and final finalist is the Slovak Oyster Supper. Dating back to at least 1947, the Slovak Oyster Supper is an annual event held at the Parish Hall in Slovak, and I've been going for many years. Organized by the Slovak Knights of Columbus as a fundraiser for local charities, attendees are served heaps of fried oysters, and when I say a heap, I mean it. And then the raw oysters in a styrofoam cup. Now, The Knights of Columbus have brought these up themselves from South Louisiana. There's fries. Until January of this year, the event had been a men's-only affair, but our governor changed that. She showed up. She was invited to take part. She sat down and ate her oysters. So, the Slovak oyster supper is no longer, I don't guess, men only. It is one of our finalists for food-themed event. Let's hear it for the Slovak oyster supper. Slovak, interesting place. All right, our finalists for food-themed event of 2023, the Magnolia Blossom Festival and World Championship Steak Cook-Off, the Mayhoff Festival, the Slovak Oyster Supper. Each is a unique food heritage treasure. All of these finalists deserve recognition. Let's give all three again a round of applause. Go present. The winner of the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame's food-themed event, the Magnolia Blossom Festival and World Championship Steak Cook-Off. I think Bonnie Keith, our executive director, is with us. Anybody else? Come on up. Congratulations. Starting 5 years ago, the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame Committee included a Food of the Year to celebrate, quote, a culturally significant food or food product that is important to the state and our people, close quote. We've recognized catfish. We've recognized rice. We've recognized corn. We've recognized chicken as foods of the year. This year we're going to add some more protein to the plate. Pecans. Whether you like your pecans in salads, cakes, or good old Cairo nut pie, as my dad called it, we celebrate the pecan as our 2023 Arkansas Food of the Year. Now, I have been called by some as the official state nut, but this is the official state nut. And to celebrate the pecan, I welcome Arkansas Food Hall of Fame Committee member Dr. David Ware of the State Archives. David?
I've been told to keep it short. I promised Renee that I'd keep it under 30 minutes. So, Renee, this one is for you. Let us now praise a famous nut. In 2009, the 87th General Assembly designated the Caria illinoinensis, also known as the pecan, as the official nut of Arkansas. No matter what you're thinking, don't even go there. Act 638 of March 27, 2009, specifically noted that it did not grant protected status to the pecan, thus ensuring that the nut might both be sold and consumed, which means that we can enjoy it as our food of the year. It's not a protected species, folks. We can enjoy it as the Caro Nut Pie at Miss Anna's in Fort Smith, or the fried version at Skinny J's, don't knock it till you try it, up in Jonesboro, as spiced pecans as an elegant appetizer at the Capitol Hotel here in town, as the possum pie crust from Patty Cakes in Conway. Any takers? Yep. Or in the hummingbird cake at Sheba's Cafe in Hope. 2 other states have thus saluted the pecan: Alabama and Texas. In Texas, in fact, it is both the official state health nut and the official state tree. And our friends in Oklahoma sorta kinda celebrates the pecan in the form of pecan pie, which forms a large caloric part of their mega-calorie official state meal. I believe there's chicken fried steak and biscuits and gravy in there too, so it's up in there with the heavy hitters. Now, the pecan tree is a species of hickory, native to much of the South and the Midwest. Spanish explorers called them nuez de la arruga, which roughly translates to wrinkled nut. English colonizers on the eastern coast of North America found natives who gathered the wild nuts and ate them both as solids and as a liquid. They ground up the pecans, mashed them together with water, which yielded a nutritious drink, pakahikra, a forerunner of such confections as soy or almond milk. What to call this nut remained fluid, however, until pecan became the accepted term in the early 19th century. The name, by the way, derives from the Algonquin word pecan, which means something that takes a stone to open. Somebody got that one right. Now, the pecan is classed as a nut in popular esteem and agricultural production, but it is botanically a drupe. That is, a fruit consisting of a stone or a kernel surrounded by something. This is entirely appropriate given that we have a thing in the state symbols that is both a fruit and a vegetable. So we have here a nut and a fruit in one. The distinction between drupe and nut, while significant for scholars and growers, is largely lost on those of us who like them best. Pecans pass the nut version of the duck test, I think. Now, the pecan tree is a hardy thing, slow to start, may take as long as 200 years to mature. It is among the densest of North American hardwoods. It is not easy to work, but its resilience and even grain make it a good material for things like tool handles, dowels, wagon wheel spokes, flooring, furniture, and ladders. And when you give up on building that wagon wheel out in the garage, you can simply take that wood and put it in the smoker. Works just fine for brisket or chicken. Now, over on the other side of what you might call the Texarkana line, pecan trees are the state's official tree, but the fruit is honored as the state's official health nut. And there is method in this moniker, ladies and gentlemen. Pecans have a high concentration of vitamin A, which protects the teeth, eyes, and bones, and just a handful a day can lower your bad cholesterol. They also contain more than 19 vitamins and minerals, and a serving, just 1 ounce of pecans, 1 bowl of those spiced pecans over at the Capitol Grill, provides 1/10 of the daily recommended adult dosage of fiber. Just imagine what eating a half pound of those pecans could do. It could change your life. Pecans are also rich in antioxidants, those substances that inhibit the deterioration of stored food products. Thus, those who seek to not rust from inside need look no further than our food of the year. Now, thanks to their hardiness, you can find pecan trees and their fruit in virtually any corner of our state. Most native pecans are harvested mechanically. The first step consists of literally shaking the tree, although a significant number are still hand-harvested by small growers. Now, how you crack them is up to you. Just about anyone can find a rock by the side of the road, after all. But there's a reason for those roadside stands that offer to shell them for you. Take my advice. It's money well spent. Now, Arkansas, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is no longer in the top tier of pecan-producing states, but by all accounts, we still have plenty of nuts. As of the year 2013, Arkansas had nearly 6,500 acres planted commercially in pecans. That year, pecan-utilized production from Arkansas, that is the stuff that actually hit the market, came to about 2.7 million pounds. Even better was the next year, when utilized production rose to 3.5 million pounds. As for our recent production, let us simply say that there's a variety of figures to choose from, and I'd say hit somewhere in between. Last year, according to figures I got from the Farm Bureau, Arkansas had produced about 2.25 million pounds of pecan-utilized nuts. And as for what that represents in terms of value, we'll get to that in a minute. The brochure that you were given today says that we harvested more than 8.4 million pounds last year. Now, somewhere between that 2.25 million and 8.4, there's got to be the right figure. You know, I'm optimistic. We need more pecans. I'll go with the bigger figure, thank you very much. And in terms of their value, well, as of a month ago, the National Pecan Report, and yes, there is such a thing, said that in-shell pecans were averaging $1.70 a pound, while shelled whole pecans averaged $5.70 per pound, which means that if you're frugal and you're a pecan fan, keep your crack and rock handy. Thank you very much. And now I turn this over to Rex Nelson, who knows far better than I do what to do with one of these things.
Thanks, David. Great job. And I've got to tell you, I have the great pleasure of traveling the back roads of Arkansas for a living, and I am noticing more and more young pecan orchards being planted, and that's a good thing. For instance, take Highway 9, and right before you cross the Arkansas River Bridge into Morrilton, huge young pecan orchards just on your left. So I'm noticing that more and more. I think we're going to see that industry grow. All right, let's move on to our next category. Proprietor of the Year. The food is important to this organization, but the people behind the food, that's the most important thing. I have such respect for my friends in the restaurant business. I was among those 3 years ago this month, basically 3 years ago next week when the world shut down, you remember, due to the pandemic, thinking that we would lose, maybe half or more of our great independent Arkansas restaurants. Our restaurant people were amazing. We didn't lose that many of the great Hall of Fame quality places because they learned to do the takeout, to do the delivery. Amazing people. And we're going to honor tonight some of the best people in our business. To be eligible, the person or the people must be chef, cook, or owner of an Arkansas restaurant. Again, not a chain, and have done so for at least a year and made, quote, significant achievements in the food industry. For this category, there were a remarkable 263 nominations. That's a lot of good food people in our state. The committee reviewed it. We had an extremely difficult task, and we pared it down to these finalists. And once again, we will go in alphabetical order. First finalists, Chester and Laura Huntsman of the Beach Street Bistro, way down in Lower Arkansas again at Crossit. Chester and Laura opened the Beach Street Bistro in Crossit in 2018. They personally renovated a 100-year-old home that had been given to them by Laura's father. The bistro serves Creole specialties and unique desserts like Zydeco cheesecake, beignets. You've got to try the crawfish pie, the pork chop sandwich, the po' boys. The restaurant prides itself on its warm and inviting atmosphere, local artwork, outstanding flavors. It is truly one of those places where people drive from all over. They come out of Louisiana, they come out of Mississippi to visit. Chester and Laura Huntsman, the Beach Street Bistro of Crossit. Next up, a returning finalist, a name we all know, Jim Keat of KTEJ Restaurants of here in Little Rock. A native of Springfield, Missouri, but an Arkansan by choice. Jim came to Arkansas way back in 1975. We met very soon after that and immediately began to impact the food landscape as an entrepreneur with Wendy's, fast food restaurants. But it was the establishment of Tzatziki's and then the launch of Petite and Keat that created such a buzz around Central Arkansas and around the restaurant community. Then comes Cypress Social, and the flavors all come together to create a staggering array of food choices throughout Central Arkansas. The Keat family has been honored with the National Conference of Christian and Jews National Humanitarian Award, the FBI Community Service Award, an outstanding charity fundraiser for Arkansas. Jim Keat, once again, a worthy finalist for Proprietor of the Year for 2023. Next up, another multi-time finalist, Chef Jamie McAfee of the Pine Bluff Country Club. Jamie grew up down in McGee, where his father was the manager of the Delta Country Club. His mom managed a hotel. He picked up the hospitality business quickly, worked for his father in the kitchen at the country club in the 1970s, went on to study at the Memphis Culinary Institute, landed a job working for Nike in a warehouse, but then became a cook for Nike founder Phil Knight before feeling the pull, and a lot of us have been there. We've left the state and we come back home. It keeps pulling us back in. And he came home to South Arkansas. The pandemic altered the business dining habits of country club members, and banquet-style events evaporated, but Chef Jamie expanded his thinking, expanded his offerings. He catered more. He got into the food truck business for a while. It has all worked out beautifully, and his success is cause for him to be counted among this year's finalists for Proprietor of the Year, Jamie McAfee from the Pine Bluff Country Club. Next up, another returning finalist, David Stovall from the great Stobies of Conway. Now, he was a kitchen steward at his fraternity at the University of Arkansas. He's from Morrilton, and he picked up the nickname Stoby, and it stuck. So feeling a call to work in the industry and having worked for several restaurants, both in the front and the back of the house, and even once literally peddling ice cream from a three-wheeler at local ballparks, David eventually opened his own place, Stobies in Conway, and it quickly became a hit in a town filled with students at 3 colleges and universities. Stobies earned a reputation for its amazing cheese dip that became so popular that it is stocked in grocery shelves. Began being stocked in groceries by the 1990s. David and his wife Patty later added Patty Cakes, a bakery, which was mentioned, to the Conway food scene. So David Stovall of Stobies in Conway, once again a finalist for Proprietor of the Year. Let's head back to South Arkansas again, to DeShay County to be exact. Chuck Taylor of Taylor's Steakhouse. Now, people tend to say Taylor's Steakhouse in Dumas. As you know, it's not in Dumas. It's outside of Dumas. It's in the middle of a soybean field is where it is, which adds to the attraction. A storied history with roots that reach across the Mississippi River. Chuck Taylor turned it into one of those great southern dives, kind of like the original Doe's in Greenville. But his steaks are better, I've got to say. Today, the restaurant's aged steaks, including Kansas bone-in ribeyes, T-bone steaks, have gained notoriety in numerous states. People come from all over, not just Arkansas now, but from all over the region to enjoy the food and enjoy the hospitality in that former grocery store in the middle of a soybean field. Proprietor of the Year finalist, Chuck Taylor of Taylor's Steakhouse. And we'll stay down in South Arkansas. We'll move over out of the Delta into the Piney Woods again, though. Our 6th finalist, one of my favorite places in the state, Wood's Place of Camden. It's James Wood, a finalist. James Woods came to Camden to take over management of the Golden Corral restaurant. It was a job offer that lured him, but that old city on the Ouachita River really hooked James. It wasn't long after arriving in town that he took notice of a local catfish restaurant that had closed down. He bought the place, hook, line, and sinker, shall we say, and renamed it Wood's Place. Fresh farm-raised catfish and true made-from-scratch cooking are just as important to James as the long-lasting friendships and connections he's made in the area he calls home. This guy caters, too, literally all over the state of Arkansas. I spoke a few years ago in Forrest City, and I was delighted when I drove up and I saw Wood's Place was catering it. It's a long way from Camden to Forrest City, by the way. But that's how wide his name is, his popularity is finalist for Proprietor of the Year, James Woods of Woods Place in Camden. Thank y'all for being here tonight. All right, there you have them, our 6 finalists for 2023 Proprietor of the Year: Chester and Laura Huntsman, Jim Keat, Jamie McAfee, David Stovall, Chuck Taylor, and James Woods. Let's give all of them a hand. And I'm going to make not just a prediction, I think I can make it almost a guarantee. All 6 of these people eventually will be in the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame. That's how good they all are. But we could choose just one, so our 2023 Proprietor of the Year is Chef Jamie McAfee of the Pine Bluff Country Club. Congratulations, Jamie. All right. And now, our final category and the induction of the class of 2023 into the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame. We have 12 finalists this year, but only 3 will be inducted into the Food Hall of Fame. To be eligible, restaurants must be owned and operated in Arkansas. They must not be part of a chain, and they must have been in business, get this, a minimum of 25 years. That's restaurant industry's dog years, as you know, so that's like living to well over 100. You got to be good to last that long. Still, we had a record 504 nominations this year, representing every part of the state. So here we go in alphabetical order. We start back down in El Dorado with Betty's Old Fashioned that a highway project, unfortunately, is about to take out. Betty's was established in 1936, the oldest original restaurant in El Dorado. Some contend one of the first real dairy bars in the state. Betty Schaub, the same Betty that the dairy bar gets its name from, began working here in 1957. She was 19 years old. 10 years later, Betty bought the place. It is now owned by her niece, Susie Blanchard. The establishment, famous for ice cream, hamburgers, cakes, pies, friendly service. It was featured on Good Morning America last year. Betty's Old Fashioned is an iconic part of El Dorado. Betty herself has been recognized with a Civil Servant Award from the city of El Dorado. Our first finalist, Betty's Old Fashioned of El Dorado. Next, let's go back to Pine Bluff, where Chef McAfee hails from. It's Big Banjo Pizza. Big Banjo, love that name. Family owned, operated, established in Pine Bluff in 1974, known for its award-winning pizzas, all-you-can-eat lunches, dinner buffets, famous things like the taco pizza and the Big Banjo sub. Brothers Dickie and Russell Ratliff, both still in their 20s at the time when they started the restaurant, and pretty much everybody in the family has worked there through the years. Uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, mothers, daughters. The legacy of maintaining high standards of food and philanthropy by supporting scholarships and community fundraisers continues for nearly 50 years now. Our next finalist, Big Banjo Pizza of Pine Bluff. Let's bring it back up to Little Rock. Next up, Little Rock's iconic Black Angus. Oliver Harper was selling fish from a bicycle when on Christmas Eve he was laid off and declared, "I may go broke, but I'll never get laid off again." So Harper and some hardworking friends first opened Lito's Cafeteria and then opened the state's first Tasty Freeze. I love that chain. Later, a Minute Man. I love that chain too. But with the proceeds from selling those earlier interests, Oliver Harper opened the Black Angus Cafe in 1962. And many of us who were kids, I'm speaking personally here, going with their daddies to Razorback football games at War Memorial Stadium, Black Angus was your go-to before the game. Began to serve up char grill burgers, hand-cut steaks. Black Angus went dark for a time in 1985 after Harper's retirement, but was resurrected by Bill Stovall in 1989. Now owned by the Carla Creasy Farley and family, the self-serve establishment has moved back home almost, back there across from War Memorial Stadium. Hamburger steak dinners, catfish, hickory burgers, radar pies. The three main cooks in the kitchen, get this is how good a place this is to work. This is how good a job Carla does. The three main cooks have been there 35, 26, and 24 years, respectively. That's respect. Our next finalist, the Black Angus of Little Rock. A returning finalist as we head up to Bald Knob, the Bulldog Restaurant. 363 days a year, 8 a.m. until 10 p.m., you can get fed and fed well at the Bulldog. How many times have I pulled in there while going up 67 at all hours? Burgers, an assortment of sandwiches, catfish plates, taco salads, and of course, the famous strawberry shortcake. When they announced this is the first day of the strawberry shortcake, traffic backs out onto the highway. I have seen it with my own eyes and is backed up for blocks. And then they will change that later in the summer to peach shortcake. You can make a special trip for those to Bald Knob. Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those are the only 2 days the family-owned restaurant is closed. Our next Arkansas Food Hall of Fame finalist, the Bulldog in Bald Knob. Now let's head up 65 into the Ozarks, another encore performance. It's the Daisy Queen in Marshall. How many times have you stopped there on your way to the Buffalo River? Since 1966, the Daisy Queen, owned by Jeff and Robin Mays, has been serving up hand-patted Angus beef burgers, their hand-blended shakes, in a town that still boasts an active drive-in theater, the Kinda. The Daisy Queen is another piece, I love Marshall, of Americana that harkens to a simpler time spent eating great food, talking with friends, instead of having our heads buried in our phones. So tonight, we celebrate the simplicity and the perfection to be found in one of those roadside stops, the Daisy Queen of Marshall. Let's keep heading north on up 65. Let's get to Harrison. Our next finalist, DeVito's of Harrison. Great family-owned restaurant, started in 1986 by Jim DeVito, fourth-generation Italian cook, oldest of 11 kids, served in World War II in Germany before the Army sent him to Camp Robinson in Arkansas, where he met his wife Mary and eventually moved to her hometown of Harrison. The restaurant is known for award-winning cuisine, Italian dishes made from scratch, and of course, that fresh-caught rainbow trout, which is especially, and it makes sense as it literally spawned this restaurant from the Bear Creek Trout Farm back in 1970. Steve, Chris, and Joe DeVito operate the restaurant today. ensuring the dining experience is still of the highest quality. Our next finalist, DeVito's Restaurant of Harrison. Now we'll go into Northwest Arkansas. And our next Food Hall of Fame finalist is Hugo's of Fayetteville. Truly a beloved institution. Been serving the community since Lamar Anderson founded the restaurant in 1977. Jason Piazza is the current owner and maintains the tradition of excellent food and a really fun, eclectic atmosphere. The restaurant offers a diverse menu of burgers and a varied array of appetizers, entrees, desserts, including their well-known homemade fries, beer cheese soup, and the amazing Blue Moon Burger, and don't forget the terrific Grasshopper Crepes. Hugo's of Fayetteville, our next Arkansas Food Hall of Fame finalist. All right, let's head from Northwest Arkansas to another far corner, Northeast Arkansas. We visit a past and now again a current finalist, the Cream Castle of Blytheville. In its early days, back in 1952, the Cream Castle was a simple hot dog stand run by Stephen Johns, a first-generation American son of immigrants. His story is an inspiring example of why Arkansas was called the land of opportunity back in those days. By 1955, he had added a charcoal pit and barbecue was added to the menu. The Castle Burger later followed, but it's the pig sandwich, as they call them in Blytheville, that I like to go get there. Today, Stephen's daughter Suzanne, her husband Jeff Wallace, continue to operate this central meeting spot in the Blytheville community. A devastating fire took them out, but they said, we will come back. And in just recent weeks, the Cream Castle, thankfully, has reopened again, and one of our finalists again, Cream Castle at Blytheville. All right, over to the hills of north central Arkansas we go. We hit the most remote areas at this Hall of Fame, and this is a classic. Meacham's Family Restaurant in Ash Flat. You can get breakfast any time of the day. Great omelet there. But if you're around during lunch or dinner, you better not leave without some onion rings, maybe a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, a veal cutlet, farm-raised catfish. I'm getting hungry again. I could go on, so I won't. Troy Meacham bought the restaurant in 1979 after many decades of food service experience, and it wasn't all that difficult since he started working at age 14. It's now operated by Troy's daughters. They're committed to preserving its legacies. One of the finest places to eat in all of north central Arkansas. Our finalists, Meacham's Family Restaurant of Ash Flat. All right, let's go deeper into the Ozarks. Newton County, to be exact, where Secretary Mills hails from. Next Food Hall of Fame finalist, the Ozark Cafe on the Square in Jasper. I have to, Mike, since you're sitting there, well, that's not the order I had it in. I will pull to the Ohio Club, though, if you guys want to. Another returning finalist. I'm going from 16 to 17, then I'll have to go back to page 16. So hold with me. Another returning finalist for Arkansas Food Hall of Fame, the Ohio Club of Hot Springs. The Ohio Club was founded in 1905 by John Coffee Williams. You got to love anybody that goes by the nickname Coffee. And his son Sam Watt as a bar and casino. More casino than bar, I think. Well-known mobsters. We're talking the big ones. Lucky Luciano, Bugsy Siegel, Al Capone, and of course the local boss, Oni Madden, were once regulars at this hot springs watering hole, as were ball players like Babe Ruth and entertainers Al Jolson and Mae West. but it's a recently expanded menu of terrific food that brings them back here tonight as a Hall of Fame finalist once again. Arkansas Food Hall of Fame finalists, the Ohio Club of Hot Springs. All right, now let's see if we've got the Ozark. There we go. Amazing how that works. The Ozark Cafe on the square at Jasper. All right, here's the story I was going to tell. Mike, they hate it, but with you sitting here, I've got to tell this. So when I worked for Governor Huckabee, he was invited to ride in the fair parade at Jasper. And he said, well, what's the route? And they said, we go around the square. Well, it's a small square. If you've been to Jasper, as you know. And he said, this is going to be a short parade. True story. I promise you, I'm not making this up. The guy said, don't worry. We go around twice. Gotta love Jasper. The Ozark Cafe, one of the oldest restaurants in the state. A rich history dating back to 1909. For more than a century, the cafe has been known for its unique atmosphere and its commitment to using locally sourced ingredients. Specialties include a deep-fried hamburger, a half-pound burger that uses 2 grilled cheese sandwiches as buns. I guarantee you, if you eat too many of those, you won't be around for 100 years. Anyway, the Ozark Cafe also cited for its chocolate gravy that was listed by New York's Grub Street Foodie blog. Our next Arkansas Food Hall of Fame finalist, the Ozark Cafe in Jasper. All right, slipping on along the western edge of the state map, let's go down to Mena. And an icon, the Skyline Cafe. Been serving patrons for a century. Celebrated their 100th anniversary last year. Opened in 1922. Homey, hearty breakfast and lunch fare. Omelets, steak and eggs, ham, bacon, pancakes, corned beef hash even. Reuben sandwiches at lunch, plate lunches, more. Customers have covered 2 maps of the U.S. with pins showing where they've come from to enjoy a meal at the cafe. Google Location Services considers the cafe a landmark on par with Mount Rushmore and the Liberty Bell because of the thousands of visitors who have snapped their photos inside the cafe. Owner Kendon Burrell waited tables at the Skyline Cafe back in the 1990s. Mena drew her back, and they are still going strong, now working on 101 years, the Skyline Cafe at Mena. All right, so here they are again, your finalists for Arkansas Food Hall of Fame for 2023. Betty's Old Fashioned in El Dorado. Big Banjo Pizza of Pine Bluff, the Black Angus of Little Rock, the Bulldog in Ball Knob, the Daisy Queen in Marshall, DeVito's in Harrison, Hugo's in Fayetteville, the Cream Castle in Blytheville, Meacham's in Ash Flat, the Ozark Cafe in Jasper, the Skyline Cafe in Mena, and the Ohio Club in Hot Springs. Let's hear it for that outstanding group of restaurants. These are our 12 Arkansas Hall of Fame finalists. Now, drum roll. We don't have a drum, but we can pretend. There we go, in no particular order. Our first inductee of the 3 for this year, the Cream Castle of Blytheville. Come on up. These folks have been working hard to get that rebuilt. I would drive by every time I was in Blytheville to see the progress. And they are back in a big way. Congratulations, Suzanne, Jeff. without further ado, the second member of the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame to be inducted in 2023, the Ozark Cafe of Jasper. They are. Congratulations. And I'll say the same about our 12 finalists I said about our proprietor finalists. They'll all eventually be in the Hall of Fame. But we're only allowed to do 3 a year. That's the beauty of this thing. It's tough to get into. So our third and final inductee for 2023, the Bulldog of Bald Knob. Congratulations. Now, as we wrap up, I want to thank all the winners, all the finalists, all the nominees for the hospitality that you extend every time you see a new face come through the doors of your establishments. Thank you from all of us at the Arkansas Food Hall of Fame for sharing your talents and your passion for food with the people of Arkansas, and also those who visit our great state. You give the state of Arkansas a good name with the hospitality that you show. So when you do, thank all of these people as you see them leaving tonight. They work so hard. And also thank the other folks, the folks at the Division of Heritage, a part of Arkansas state government. Our friends at MHP Team SI for their efforts. My fellow committee members and our sponsors, Benny Keith and Moon Distributors, for their support tonight. Thank you to all of them. Now, be sure and download that Arkansas Food Hall of Fame app before you know it. We'll be calling for nominations for 2024. To close us out tonight, here again, Secretary Mike Mills. Mike?
Let's have a hand for Rex Nelson. You know, hardly anybody could do what he does because he knows every bit of it by the back, like the back of his hand. I'll not take very long. Everybody here, if you were here tonight, you are a winner because you heard the 1,000 nominations we got and you made it into this auditorium. So congratulations to everybody here. And good night. Drive safely going home.
Thanks, everybody. Good show.